So I wrote this thing in the New York Times about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, about should religion go away? Should we replace religion? What should we replace religion with? And I wrote a little thing in the New York Times, and I'm pretty proud of it. It has the line in there about, what's stopping, if you don't believe in God, what stops you from raping and killing anyone you want to? And my answer being, I do rape and kill anyone I want to, and that number is 0. There's no one I want to rape and kill. What's your list? It has that little hunk in it. And somebody just put up that they liked it again, so I retweeted it. If I think there's something that I haven't had out there for a while that I'm proud of, I'll retweet it when someone sends it in. And all of a sudden, a whole new barrage of people that are saying stuff to me that arguments people made to me about atheism, really, that I haven't heard in 25 years? Not
Since
a word of
high.
it. Read this. And they have, now I've read the whole Bible, and I'm always reading the Bible. I can't say that every day I read it, but certainly every week, a couple times, 3 times a week, I'm reading the Bible. I don't read a lot of it, but I'll read a chapter. When I sit down and do my reading, I like to read a little bit of poetry. I like to read a little bit of the Bible, then I get into my serious reading.
What's your favorite verse?
Well, my favorite verse is the one that is tattooed on the back of Stephen Baldwin's neck. Yeah. And I think it's John.
Because you can read it while you're strangling him.
And it's the one that no one talks about, but it's the one where Jesus says very clearly, you must put following me in front of your whole family.
Right.
It's more important than your whole family. And what startles me always, startles not the right word, what always amazes me about Christianity, as written in the Bible, and I know it's grown a lot from there, and people always bust me on this, which is really a funny thing to bust a guy on. They'll say, well, you're just going by the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am, mostly going by the Bible. And I realize there are many, many liberal interpretations of the Bible, and that Christianity has grown a lot and has changed a lot, and there's many different flavors. But I go back to the Bible, and there's also the King James. I'm just going to the King James Bible. I'm not reading all the, the Dead Sea Scrolls and all the lost things, and I'm not doing a different translation. And no, I don't read Arabic. What is Aramaic? Aramaic. I don't read Aramaic, and that's where they get you, You'll say, I know this is from the Bible, and they'll go, well, I guess you read Aramaic then. No, I don't read Aramaic. I'm just reading the fucking Bible.
Just saw the guy who busted on that also doesn't read Aramaic. A lot of people picking up the old Aramaic books.
Well, Mel Gibson does, right? Wasn't his The Passion of the Christ?
Look how great his perception of the world is.
But anyway, they talk about family values. They talk about family values and how important family is, and yet the Bible itself goes on and on about the family being second to God. And the only way they hold on to the family is to feed it through God. The way I represent my love for God is through my family. No. The way I represent my love for a family is through my family. And as I say at the beginning of my book, God No, God said to Abraham, kill me his son. God said, kill your son. If God told you, however you perceive God, told you, however God communicates with you, to kill your child, would you do it? If the answer is no, then you are already an atheist. Congratulations. Welcome. If the answer is yes, then I beg you to try to find something in your heart different. And people, got to the airport. I was waiting for my luggage for a really long time, American Airlines.
Let's get into it.
Alan King is dead. I'm willing to take over. That reference was for Gilbert. What's he holding? Yeah, I know. There was a guy came to me and said, you talk about how you're willing to talk to anybody about anything. I just want to tell you that I appreciate you and I like your magic show and so on, but I'm a theist. And he wanted to talk a little bit about this. And he said to me, which is the argument, which is a completely valid argument that I always bring up, the Abraham killing your son thing. And he said, but God stopped him. He didn't actually kill his son. And I said, yeah, but someone tells me to kill my son. when they say just kidding after that, there's still a little residual. I said, how about, I said, do you have children? He said, yeah. I said, so someone abducts your children and then brings them back safely. You totally okay? You totally all right with that? That feels good for you? Yeah. That's all right? I mean, that's really the question for me. And then they say, well, that's the Old Testament. But in the New Testament, first of all, Jesus does not negate anything in the Old Testament. He just amplifies it. And second of all, he talks about putting God ahead of your family too. Yeah. He doesn't ever, as far as I know in the Bible, as far as I remember, doesn't ever say this is a test we're going to do for you, but he still says that.
Jesus grabbed his apostles. He wasn't like, we go back on the weekends. You can still do what you need to do on the weekends. I just need you Monday through Friday.
I may have seen the compelling argument that you have. I have dealt with how we deal with God, how we deal with good without God. And my answer to that is very simply, once you've said the sentence, simple 3-word sentence, God is good. Once you've said that sentence, you have said that good exists outside of God and that there is a morality outside of God. That simple sentence is my strongest argument. If you know that God is good, then I can know what good is without God, just from those simple 3 words. So that argument is taken care of there. How the universe got here, just the fact that we don't know does not mean it's automatically supernatural. There's a lot of things that we don't know, and that doesn't mean they're supernatural. There are things in the refrigerator that I don't know what they are. That doesn't mean they're supernatural. Just means I don't know. The argument from your own ignorance or from humanity's ignorance is not a valid argument. If you can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that evolution is not the way life got here, if you can prove that, you have not come any closer to proving creationism. Not a bit. Creationism has to be proved independently on its own. Disproving evolution does not accomplish anything. Not knowing how we got here does not accomplish anything. The fact that you really desperately want to see your grandmother after you're dead is not a logical argument. Your desire does not make it true. If desire made it true, right now, as we speak, I would be Bob Dylan banging Christina Hendricks. The second your desire for a God makes it real, you will know it because Penn Jillette will be Bob Dylan banging the woman from Mad Men. So you'll know it. That's how you can test it. When there's a God, that will happen. You'll be able to say, hey, Penn's Bob Dylan now, and look who he's with. You'll know that. So those arguments have been covered. Have I read the New Testament? Yes. Have I read it with an open heart? Yes. Have people prayed for me to get Jesus into my heart? Yes, they have. So I'm very interested in hearing arguments, but some of this stuff has been covered before. The fact that God is mentioned in the Bible is not proof that God exists, or Marvel Comics would prove that we have Spider-Man. I started with DC because I was going with Superman, wanted to go with Spider-Man to be a little hipper. But now Superman's coming out, so DC Comics would prove that. So the question I thought was really interesting was the question that said...
what's the difference between cynicism and skepticism?
Okay, I'll do that one first. I was going to do the other one first, but I'll do that one first. Bill Maher proudly calls himself a cynic. Glenn Beck wonders how I can have such a positive view about people and still be a skeptic. And the reason is that those 2 words get conflated, they get flipped, they get changed. Cynicism is questioning the motives, looking for the worst, seeing things as people doing bad things. Right. That is not what I feel, ever. I don't feel, even with people I disagree strongly with, Westboro Baptist Church, I do not believe, and people can argue with me on this, I do not believe that Fred Phelps gets up in the morning and says, I'm going to do everything I can to fuck people up. I think he firmly believes what he's saying, and he's wrong. That's skepticism. I do not, and I use this example in my book, and I've used it to Glenn Beck. I believe people are really good. I believe that if you run into a Starbucks and you say, my wife's pregnant, I have to rush her to the hospital, we have 2 cars, I have to drive in her car, my Ferrari is out front, it's running, it's parked, it's double parked, here are the keys. You throw the Ferrari keys and say, listen, my cell phone's in there, it has all my information in it, would you just put my Ferrari someplace safe and give me a call? You're going to be okay. Most people, the overwhelming majority of people, are good. Right. I hitchhiked and lived homeless for 2 years in this country. I was picked up by all sorts of people. I stayed in all sorts of houses. I slept out in the open. I slept in alleys. The people that I met that I thought were truly bad people, trying to do bad or not caring about hurting other people, were not non-existent. But there was a small handful of people. If you talk to Bill Maher, he will tell you that politicians are trying to fuck things up, that people are trying to do the best for themselves and don't give a damn about anybody else, willing to take down other people to get where they want. That has not been my experience in life. It's not what I feel in my heart. What I feel in my heart is that people are mostly full of love. But what I feel in my heart is also that people are wrong. And when I say people are wrong, it includes me. It includes everybody in this room, especially Michael Godot above my bass playing. People are wrong about things. People being wrong about things is not the same as people being bad or evil. I explained to Glenn Beck, I do not believe in evil. I do not believe there's a little devil Mickey Mouse on my shoulder telling me to do bad things and the good on the other side. When you talk about evil, when you say that the Boston bombers were possessed by evil, you are taking some of the blame off them.
Yeah.
They were wrong, deeply, deeply, tragically, horribly, hatefully wrong. My position is, I believe, scarier and a little sadder that people are wrong instead of evil. Thinking that someone's evil, he's quite mad, you know. Thinking that someone is evil means that there's some force we can fight in the universe that is evil. It means there's something there to hold on to. People being wrong is much scarier because people being wrong is you and me. It's everybody. That, to me, is the difference between cynicism and skepticism. Cynicism is questioning the motives. Skepticism is questioning the beliefs. I believe you need to be skeptical of absolutely everything and everyone, and you need to get proof for what you believe. You need to examine yourself all the time. You need to try to find out where you're wrong and try to fix that. Cynicism means that in people's hearts, they're trying to do bad. And I find that to be very, very rare. We could even argue that Charlie Manson maybe at some level believed what he was doing was right. That's a tough one. I won't take that argument, you know. Right. But I'm saying you could try to do that. And I do know there were some drug dealers that I encountered, some people who were doing things with children that I believe were doing bad and believed it was bad. They believed it was bad and they were doing it anywhere, or they did not give a fuck who they hurt and they were doing bad. Those people do exist. Don't write a bunch of Twitters that say, Penn, how Pollyanna
right, there are
you?
some sociopaths, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
There are
People
bad
with
people.
illnesses.
Yeah. But those bad people are really, really rare. The dangerous part, a cynic is also someone who's given up. You just say there's bad motives. That's it. Everybody's out to get what they can get. It's an ugly position that also over the this century and a little bit of the past last century, maybe the second half of the last century, has become a really hip point of view. You know, when Bill Maher says he's a cynic, he says it with a certain kind of swagger and a certain kind of pride. I think it's something to be very, very ashamed of. Being a skeptic and being a cynic are two very different things. Yeah. Being a skeptic is questioning information. Being a cynic is questioning people's hearts. And I don't, as a rule, question people's hearts. And you think even the people who have fucked me over in the past have their own point of view. I think the people who are very, very abusive to me for being an atheist are not saying, I want to bring as much hate down on this guy as possible. I think they're saying, I have a truth that I understand. Penn is wrong. I want to try to bring him along to that. Or if I can't do that, at least make sure that other people don't follow him. So Penn is an asshole atheist that they want to tweet, I think comes from a pretty good place in their heart. They're just simply wrong.